the silence
Stay
beneath
close.
the light.
We have to move.
The afternoon sunlight stretched gently
I
across
know.
the
Hold on
lawns
to
of
me.
Adelaide Cottage, warm and peaceful,
Stay close. We're
the kind
almost
of
through.
calm that
I hear
usually
it, the
wrapped the
fire.
home in
Don't look
comfort.
back. Just follow
But today the silence felt wrong. Prince William stepped inside, loosening his tie, expecting the usual sounds of late afternoon life. Distant laughter, footsteps upstairs, maybe the faint hum of music from one of the children's rooms. Instead there was nothing. Not the normal quiet. A hollow quiet. He paused near the back entrance. That was when he saw them. Charlotte's shoes. Black school shoes. Perfectly polished. Carefully placed side by side. Exactly how she always left them. Except, she wasn't supposed to be home. William checked his watch. 2:07 p.m. School ended at 4:30. His chest tightened slightly, not panic yet. Just instinct. Military training. Pattern recognition. Something didn't match. He stepped further inside. "Charlotte?" he called, calm but firm. No answer. He walked toward the kitchen. No snack plate on the counter. No juice glass. No school bag. That was strange. Charlotte never broke routine. Never. He moved through the living room. Everything looked normal but not lived in. Like a photograph instead of a moment. His phone was already in his hand. He dialed the school. The receptionist answered cheerfully, until he asked if Charlotte was still there. Pause. Then concern. "Your Royal Highness? Princess Charlotte left earlier today. She was picked up." The words landed like ice. "By whom?" "By palace staff, sir. We were told it was an urgent family matter." William's heartbeat slowed, not faster. Controlled. Focused. Danger close. He ended the call and immediately headed for the security room. Inside, the day supervisor looked up. "Sir? When was Princess Charlotte last recorded entering this property?" The supervisor turned pale instantly and began typing. "Checking now." Seconds stretched. Then, "Sir, we have no recorded entry." William felt something heavy settle inside him. "Check all cameras. All logs. Last 12 hours. "Yes, sir." Footage rolled. Driveway camera. 11:31 a.m. A palace vehicle arrived. William leaned closer. A familiar staff member stepped out. Then Charlotte. Walking beside her. Not smiling. Not resisting. Just quiet. The footage showed them entering through the east side of the house. Then the vehicle left. William spoke slowly. "Pull east exterior cameras." The supervisor swallowed. Camera 8 went offline at noon. Silence filled the room. William nodded once. "Show me when." The logs appeared. Camera disabled manually. Alert override activated. Someone with high-level clearance. William stepped back. His mind worked like a tactical map. If Charlotte entered, and never exited, then she was still here. Somewhere. He left the room without another word. Moving faster now. Checking rooms again. Systematic. Precise. Bedrooms. Bathrooms. Closets. Nothing. Until. The east exterior. The cellar entrance. Old stone structure. Reinforced door. Usually locked. He crouched. The lock was there. But scratched. Recently. His jaw tightened. Security rushed up behind him. "Sir, we can force entry." William held out his hand. Bolt cutters. The metal snapped with one clean motion. He opened the cellar door. Cold air rose from below. Damp. So. Dark. "Charlotte?" he called. Nothing. Then. Very faint. A sound. Not a voice. A breath. A tiny movement. His chest burned. He grabbed a flashlight and descended. Stone steps. Low ceiling. Dust in the beam of light. Then. A small wooden interior door. Locked. Behind it. A tiny sound. "Daddy?" The word cracked something deep inside him. "I'm here." He forced the door open with help from security. Inside the storage room. Charlotte sat against the wall. Scared. Crying quietly. But alive. He dropped to his knees instantly, pulling her into his arms. "You're safe. I've got you." She clung to him. "I was so scared." "I know. I'm here." Security carefully removed restraints that had been used to keep her in place. Nothing severe, but enough to prevent movement. Enough to frighten a child. William carried her upstairs into sunlight. She buried her face in his shoulder. Minutes later, Catherine arrived, running toward them, fear written across her face. The moment she saw Charlotte, she exhaled like she had been holding her breath for hours. "What happened?" William answered quietly. "We're going to find out." Charlotte was checked by medical staff. Physically okay. Shaken. Tired. Thirsty. but safe. That night, after Charlotte finally slept, William sat alone in the study. The house was quiet again. But this time it felt different. Protective. Watchful. He looked at the security reports. Someone with trust. Someone with access. Someone who believed they would never be questioned. They were wrong. Because this wasn't about status. Or position. Or power. This was about a child. And William knew something clearly. Whoever did this had underestimated one thing. A parent's resolve. And somewhere in the palace offices, someone was about to learn that actions have consequences. Not through anger. Not through revenge. But through truth. And accountability. Because real strength wasn't about titles. It was about what you protect when everything is on the line. And tonight, as William checked on Charlotte one last time before sleeping, he made a quiet promise. No darkness would ever reach her again. Not while he stood between her and the world. The truth behind the locked door. The palace felt colder than usual. Not in temperature. In atmosphere. Prince William walked beside Catherine through the long marble corridor toward the private security wing. Every step echoed. Every sound felt louder than normal. Because now nothing was normal. Charlotte was safe. But the question still remained. Why had this happened? Inside the secured office, senior investigators, royal protection officers, and legal advisors stood waiting. The moment William entered, everyone straightened. Not out of protocol. Out of tension. The head of royal security stepped forward. Your Royal Highness, we have Margaret Hayes in holding. She's requested legal representation, but she has agreed to answer preliminary questions. William nodded once. Let's begin. The interrogation room. Margaret Hayes sat at the table. No handcuffs. No dramatics. Just quiet consequences. Her posture was straight, but her hands trembled slightly, a detail most people wouldn't notice. William noticed. Catherine noticed. Margaret looked up. Your Royal Highnesses? I never meant for her to be hurt. William didn't sit. Then start talking. Silence stretched. Margaret swallowed. I was given instructions. Catherine's voice was calm. From whom? Margaret hesitated. From someone who claimed to be acting under emergency authority. William leaned forward slightly. Names? Margaret exhaled slowly. An internal communications directive. Marked urgent. It said there was a potential threat targeting Princess Charlotte's school route. I was instructed to move her to a secure holding location until security cleared the situation. William's eyes hardened. And you decided a dark cellar was a secure holding location? Margaret's voice cracked. I panicked. The directive said keep her off visible security channels. I thought, if it was an internal breach, cameras might be compromised. Catherine spoke quietly, but her words cut like glass. So you tied up a child and locked her in darkness. Margaret began crying softly. I thought it was temporary. I thought someone would come. William's voice lowered dangerously. 2.5 hours is not temporary. The first breakthrough. The security director stepped forward, placing documents on the table. Sir, we found the directive. William picked it up. Official formatting. Encrypted routing. High-level clearance signature. But something was wrong. The authorization timestamp. It didn't match the system's internal clock. Someone had forged internal credentials. Someone inside the system. William spoke slowly. This wasn't random. The director nodded. No, sir. It was targeted. Catherine looked toward Margaret. Did you speak to anyone directly? Margaret nodded. Yes. Voice call. Encrypted internal line. Male or female? Male. Recognize the voice? Margaret hesitated. I think so. William's gaze sharpened. Who? She whispered. Someone from Strategic Operations Oversight. The room froze. That department handled sensitive intelligence coordination. Access to everything. Back at Adelaide Cottage. Meanwhile, Charlotte sat on the sofa wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm tea. Security officer Sarah sat nearby, quietly present. George and Louis had returned home, confused but relieved to see their sister safe. Charlotte was quiet. Not withdrawn. Just thinking. George sat beside her. You scared us. Charlotte nodded. I was scared too. Louis hugged her tightly. Bad person. Charlotte thought carefully. I think someone made a bad choice. Sarah glanced at her, surprised by the maturity in her voice. Charlotte looked toward the window where evening light was fading. But Daddy came. And in that moment, the house felt strong again. The hidden motive. Back at the palace, digital analysts rushed into the security room. Sir, we traced the forged directive source. William turned instantly. Where? The analyst swallowed. Internal remote access terminal, used 3 days ago. User ID? The analyst hesitated. Sir, it was a dormant executive clearance profile. William's jaw tightened. Who did it belong to? A retired senior advisor. Clearance was supposed to be deactivated. Catherine crossed her arms. So someone reactivated it. The analyst nodded. Yes, ma'am. And used it to create the false emergency directive. William asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. Was the goal Charlotte specifically? Another pause. Yes, sir. Silence fell like weight. Not random. Not mistake. Planned. Margaret's final statement. Margaret wiped her eyes. I swear. I thought I was protecting her. Catherine spoke firmly. Intent doesn't erase consequences. Margaret nodded, defeated. I know. William finally sat. His voice was steady again. You will cooperate fully with investigators. Every detail. Every contact. Every message. Yes, Your Royal Highness. The realization. As William and Catherine walked out together, Catherine spoke quietly. This wasn't about hurting her. William nodded. No. It was about testing security. Yes. Catherine stopped walking. Or sending a message. William met her eyes. Yes. But his next words carried quiet steel. They chose the wrong family. Night at Adelaide Cottage. Later that night, William sat beside Charlotte's bed while she slept peacefully. The darkness in the room was soft. Safe. Controlled. Not like the cellar. He adjusted her blanket gently. And whispered, You are never alone. Not ever. Because this wasn't just about protection anymore. It was about rebuilding trust. For Charlotte. For the family. For everyone who believed safety could never be compromised. And somewhere deep in the palace system, investigators were already uncovering the next layer of truth. And when that truth surfaced, it would change everything. The shadow inside the system. Morning arrived quietly over Windsor. Soft light touched the windows of Adelaide Cottage, painting the walls in warm gold. From the outside, everything looked peaceful again. Inside, the family was healing, but also changing. Because once trust is broken even slightly, it reshapes how you see the world. Charlotte's strength. Charlotte sat at the kitchen table drawing. Not random doodles. Structured drawings. A house. The sun. And beside the house, a tall figure standing between the house and a dark cloud. William watched quietly from across the room. What's that? He asked gently. Charlotte didn't look up. That's you. He sat beside her. And the cloud. She paused. Something scary. He nodded slowly. But you're safe now. Charlotte finally looked up and smiled. I know. The investigation expands. At the palace, investigators worked non-stop. Digital forensics. Communication logs. Access audits. One thing became clear. The fake directive wasn't a random hack. It required internal network knowledge. Old clearance archive access. Timing coordination. Security blind spot awareness. Someone inside the system. Someone experienced. The dormant clearance mystery. A senior cyber analyst presented findings. The retired advisor whose credentials were used passed away 2 years ago. William's eyes narrowed. So someone kept access alive. Yes, sir. And masked the activity inside archive data clusters. Catherine asked, Was this done recently? No, ma'am. The backdoor was created months ago. Silence filled the room. This wasn't panic. This was preparation. The first real lead. Then came the first real breakthrough. A pattern. The unauthorized login only happened when one specific network maintenance protocol ran. And that protocol was only supervised by one department. Legacy systems oversight. Small team. Low public visibility. High technical access. The name that appeared. The department roster appeared on screen. 7 names. One name flagged. Repeated access to old archive systems. Repeated late-night system checks. Repeated override permissions. Name, Daniel Mercer. Position, Senior Systems Continuity Specialist. Years of service, 18. Disciplinary record, none. Reputation, quiet. Efficient. Invisible. William stared at the screen. Invisible is dangerous, he said quietly. Background check. Within hours, investigators built a profile. No financial distress. No criminal record. No political links. No obvious motive. which made him more dangerous. Because people without obvious motives often believe they are justified. The interview request. Mercer was called in for routine questioning. He arrived calm, prepared, cooperative. He answered every technical question perfectly. But when investigators asked about archive credential activity, he paused. Just for half a second. But it was enough. The psychological shift. Interrogation specialists changed tactics. Not accusation. Conversation. Mercer eventually spoke quietly. The system is fragile. Investigator, what do you mean? Mercer. Everyone assumes because it's royal security, it's perfect. Silence. Then. I was proving it wasn't. The motive emerges. Mercer didn't see himself as a criminal. He saw himself as a whistleblower. In his mind, he wasn't targeting Charlotte personally. He was demonstrating system weakness. He believed leadership ignored internal warnings. But he crossed a line. The serious one. Because systems are abstract. Children are not. The confrontation. William and Catherine were briefed immediately. Catherine spoke first. He used a child to prove a point. William nodded. Yes. Catherine's voice stayed steady. He wanted recognition. William replied quietly. He'll get accountability instead. Mercer's full admission. During formal questioning, Mercer finally admitted. He designed the fake directive. He manipulated Margaret Hayes. He disabled the camera to demonstrate physical vulnerability. He planned to reveal the breach later. He never expected Charlotte to be left alone that long. He never expected it to go that far. But intention didn't erase impact. Charlotte's recovery. Days later, Charlotte returned to school. Not because anyone pushed her. Because she chose to. William walked her to the gate. You don't have to go today, he said. Charlotte shook her head. I want to. He knelt beside her. Why? She thought carefully. Because I'm not scared anymore. He smiled. That's my girl. A new definition of strength. That evening, the family sat together for dinner. Laughing again. Not perfectly healed. But stronger. Because real strength isn't never facing darkness. It's walking forward anyway. Together. Mercer's consequences. Legal processes began. Fair. Transparent. Firm. Because justice wasn't about revenge. It was about responsibility. And protection for the future. The deeper lesson. In a private meeting, William addressed senior security leadership. Perfection isn't real, he said. But accountability must be. No anger. Just truth. And the room understood. A quiet night. That night, Charlotte slept peacefully. The house was calm again. But stronger now. Because safety isn't built on assumptions. It's built on vigilance. On trust. On people who refuse to ignore warning signs. The turning point. But investigators found something else. Something Mercer didn't create. A second hidden access attempt. Someone else had been watching the system. Waiting. And that meant the story wasn't over yet. The second shadow. The discovery didn't happen loudly. There were no alarms. No flashing screens. Just a single line of code buried deep inside a security audit log. But sometimes the quietest warnings are the most dangerous. The late-night discovery. At 1:17 a.m., a junior cyber analyst paused mid-scan. Something didn't look right. Not illegal. Not obvious. But intentional. A login request. Blocked automatically by the new emergency patch installed after Mercer's arrest. The request came from outside the primary network. But it used an internal routing signature. Meaning one thing. Someone else had been trying to access the system. And they knew how to make it look legitimate. Emergency briefing. By 6 a.m., William and Catherine sat inside the palace situation room again. The atmosphere was tense, but different from before. Now everyone was alert. Focused. Ready. The cyber director spoke first. Your Royal Highnesses, this is not Mercer. William asked calmly. Are we certain? Yes, sir. The access pattern is different. Different timing. Different encryption behavior. Catherine folded her hands. So someone else was watching his activity? Yes, ma'am. What this really meant. The analysts explained carefully. Mercer built a vulnerability demonstration. But someone else saw it, studied it, and waited. Not to expose it. To use it. The first clue. The attempted login traced back through multiple international server masks. But one mistake was made. One server wasn't wiped fast enough. It linked to a private contractor network. A company that had once bid on royal cybersecurity contracts. And lost. The name surfaces. Company, Blackthorn Strategic Systems. Reputation. Highly skilled. Extremely competitive. Known for aggressive contract disputes. Never proven guilty of wrongdoing. Always just outside legal lines. Catherine spoke quietly. They wouldn't risk this just for access. The cyber director nodded. No, ma'am. This would be about leverage. The motive becomes clear. If someone could demonstrate royal system weakness, they could force future contracts, gain political influence, control security infrastructure decisions. And they had nearly succeeded. Because Mercer opened the door. Even if he never meant to. Immediate security shift. Within hours. All legacy access was permanently destroyed. External contractor network bridges were severed. New AI monitoring layers activated. Human verification protocols doubled. The palace became one of the most secure physical-digital hybrid zones in the world. But William knew something deeper. Security wasn't just technology. It was people. Charlotte's perspective. That evening, Charlotte sat with Catherine in the garden. Is everything okay now? Charlotte asked. Catherine thought carefully. Yes, she said. Because we learned. Charlotte nodded slowly. From mistakes. Yes. And from bravery. Charlotte smiled slightly. I was brave. Catherine kissed her forehead. Very. The investigation moves public. Instead of hiding the incident, leadership made a controlled transparency decision. Not full exposure. But enough truth to reinforce trust. Show accountability. Show improvement. Because hiding problems never makes systems stronger. Facing them does. Blackthorn's quiet retreat. Within weeks. Blackthorn Strategic Systems. Withdrew multiple government bids. Replaced executive leadership. Issued public restructuring statements. No criminal case was filed. Evidence stayed circumstantial. But pressure worked. Sometimes accountability doesn't need headlines. Sometimes it needs consequences. The emotional recovery. At home, life slowly returned to rhythm. School runs. Family dinners. Movie nights. But one change stayed permanent. Security felt human now. Not invisible. Not assumed. Intentional. William's private reflection. One evening, William stood outside watching the sunset. Catherine joined him. You're thinking, she said. Yes. About what? He answered honestly. How close we came to trusting systems instead of people. Catherine nodded. And now? Now we do both. The final security review. Weeks later, the full internal report was completed. Findings. Mercer exposed a real vulnerability. External actors attempted to exploit it. Response time prevented escalation. Family safety never fully lost, but risk was real. Recommendations. Human oversight must always remain primary. Legacy systems must never be assumed safe. Psychological insider risk monitoring increased. Charlotte's growth. Charlotte later wrote a school reflection essay. Topic: courage. Her final line read, being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means knowing someone will help you stand back up. Her teacher reportedly cried reading it. The family moment. One quiet Sunday afternoon, the whole family sat together playing board games. Laughing. Teasing. Normal. Because sometimes the greatest victory is returning to peace. The real victory. Not catching Mercer. Not stopping Blackthorn. Not upgrading systems. The real victory was this. They learned. They adapted. They protected the future. The quiet truth. Darkness exists in systems. In people. In mistakes. But so does light. In accountability. In courage. In families who stand together no matter what. The final setup. But one final file remains sealed. A classified appendix. Something investigators were still reviewing. Not a threat. Not danger. But a warning. About how fast the world was changing. And how protection would always need to evolve. Light that cannot be locked away. Winter slowly softened into spring. The gardens outside Adelaide Cottage bloomed again, bright with new color, fresh life pushing through cold earth. A quiet reminder that darkness never lasts forever. Inside the cottage, life had changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly to outsiders. But deeply. Because when a family walks through fear and comes out stronger, something inside them shifts permanently. Not into fear. Into awareness. Into gratitude. Into strength. The final investigation report. 6 weeks after the incident, the final classified review was presented. William and Catherine sat together in the private briefing room. No cameras. No press. Just truth. The lead investigator spoke clearly. Your Royal Highnesses, we can now confirm the full chain of events. The report concluded. Mercer acted alone in creating the initial breach demonstration. External observers attempted to exploit that weakness. The rapid response prevented any escalation. No long-term security compromise remained active. But one line mattered most. The event permanently improved national protective infrastructure. Not just royal protection. National protection. Because sometimes crisis forces progress. Justice without anger. Mercer's legal process moved forward quietly. No public spectacle. No humiliation campaigns. Just law. Just accountability. Because true justice doesn't need noise. It needs fairness. And Mercer, during final testimony, said something unexpected. I thought I was protecting the system. The judge responded calmly. Protection without humanity is not protection. That sentence would later be quoted in leadership training programs. Blackthorn's legacy. Blackthorn's strategic systems never publicly admitted involvement. But quietly, executives changed. Policies changed. Oversight increased. Because sometimes consequences arrive without courtrooms. Sometimes they arrive through lost trust. Charlotte's new confidence. Months later, Charlotte gave a short presentation at school. Topic: resilience. She stood confidently in front of her class. Not nervous. Not shaky. Strong. I learned something, she said. Sometimes scary things happen. But scary things don't decide who you are. You decide who you are. The classroom was silent. Her teacher later told Catherine. She helped other children feel braver just by saying that. The family conversation. One evening during dinner, Louis asked, "Are bad people gone now?" William smiled gently. No. Louis frowned slightly. Then how do we stay safe? William answered carefully. By staying smart. By staying together. And by helping good people do their jobs. George nodded. That sounds fair. Charlotte added quietly. And by telling someone if something feels wrong. William and Catherine exchanged a proud look. Because the lesson had landed. A visit to the cellar. One sunny afternoon months later, William stood near the old cellar entrance. The door had been replaced. Reinforced. Brightly lit. No shadows. Charlotte walked beside him. She looked at the new entrance calmly. Can I see it? William hesitated, then nodded. Together they walked down the steps. The space was transformed. Clean. Bright. Organized. Safe. Charlotte looked around. Then nodded once. Okay, she said. And that was it. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just closure. The new security philosophy. Across the entire royal protection system, new training was introduced. Human-first security. Emotional risk awareness. Insider behavior monitoring. Because systems don't fail first. People do. And people can also be the strongest protection of all. Catherine's initiative. Catherine later launched a child emotional safety awareness program, quietly without publicity focus. Helping children. Recognize fear signals. Ask for help confidently. Understand trust boundaries. Because strength begins with knowledge. William's speech. Months later, William gave a private leadership speech to security personnel. One part became famous internally. Technology protects structures. People protect lives. Never forget which one matters more. The quiet victory. Life moved forward. School events. Holidays. Family laughter. And something stronger than before. Perspective. Because when you nearly lose peace, you learn how valuable peace really is. Charlotte's drawing. The final meaning. One afternoon, Charlotte gave William a new drawing. Same house. Same sun. But now, the dark cloud was smaller. And there were 4 figures standing together in front of the house. William asked, "What's different?" Charlotte smiled. The cloud didn't go away. He nodded. No, sometimes it doesn't. She pointed to the figures. But it can't get past us. William hugged her tightly. The last lesson. The truth they all learned was simple. Darkness exists. Mistakes happen. Systems fail. But courage exists too. And love. And people willing to stand up and say, not here. Not to us. Not to anyone. The final scene. That night, Adelaide Cottage was peaceful. Lights warm in the windows. Wind moving softly through trees. Inside, Charlotte slept peacefully. George read quietly. Louis dreamed loudly as usual. Catherine finished a book beside the fire. William locked the doors, not out of fear. Out of routine. Out of responsibility. Out of love. And as he turned off the last light downstairs, he paused. Not worried. Not tense. Just aware. And proud. Because true strength isn't never facing darkness. True strength is building a life where darkness can never win. The end.